Hello, everyone. Welcome to the HHH Racing Podcast. We're going to have a quick message here from the Adelphi Racing Club here. Bear with me, folks, as I go ahead and set that up. The Adelphi Racing Club is a club of like-minded people who enjoy horse racing and the camaraderie of being a part of something bigger than themselves. It is a true community. Adelphi is founding partners of all owned horses and other partnerships and syndicates, as well as their own. Their overarching goal is to blend the benefits of solo ownership without the administrative hassle, but with the thrill of the partnership experience. The Adelphi Racing Club offers an interactive ownership experience with real-time access to other partners, trainers, bloodstock advisors, and other members of the team. They have a very limited remaining shares available and a couple of exciting two-year-old prospects, including a New York-bred colt by Red Hot sire Lauban named Gem Mint 10, and also a Tappert colt named Magistrate, who is currently training down at Kinsman Farm in Ocala and will be trained by Christophe Clement. Please join the Adelphi Racing Club if you want to get in touch with Adelphi. There's all the information. Racing manager Matt Couture, the website adelphiracing.com, email matt@adelphiracing.com, Instagram @Adelphi_racing, and Twitter @Adelphi Club. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's start the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 136, the Kentucky Derby edition of the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Howard Kravitz. So excited to be with you tonight. We have a fantastic show. Please make sure you subscribe on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Hit that notification bell so you know when new content will arise. Crush that thumbs up button. That'll tell YouTube this is a great show. You can reach me on Twitter on my name tag @HKravitz. And, of course, on the scroll at the bottom of the screen, my email, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. Welcome all you listeners. If you're listening later on the replays on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Anchor, you can please listen and subscribe there as well. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we have a fantastic show. We have a great guest tonight, Justin Mustari, the 2021 NHC Champ, is here to help us handicap. Before we do that, please make sure we have a lot of people watching live. We anticipate a huge crowd tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. The top right-hand corner of the screen, if you're on YouTube right now, type comments into that live chat. We already have a lot of people, like I said, watching. We want to have a very lively discussion. If you're watching live on Twitter right now, thanks for watching. If you want to join our live chat, you do need to switch over to YouTube, of course, but either way, we are very happy that you are joining us this evening. Let's talk about next week. Boy, do we have some exciting stuff planned for you next week on the HHH Racing Podcast as I go ahead and share my screen here. Next week, again, all times are going to be 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Monday, we're going to have a very short show. It's going to be a very short show. We're going to be just recapping the Kentucky Derby and the Oaks, just those two races. Both of my co-hosts, Paul Halloran and Pete Visco, will be with me. Again, it's going to be probably about half an hour, 35 minutes at the very most, to talk about the Derby and the Oaks. Now, is everyone ready? We need a little drum roll at home because most people don't know this. Next Thursday, our guest to cover Belmont Derby Preview Day Stakes and Late Pick 5. It's the first time he'll be on our show. They've got a huge card at Belmont next week. It is someone from the East Coast. I'm going to scroll down. Let's reveal. Who is it going to be? It is the Big A. Anthony Stabile will be with us, the content producer at NYRA. Anthony Stabile, of course, co-hosting with Andy Serling on Talking Horses and at NYRA. The Big A will make his first appearance on the HHH Racing Podcast. Very excited to have Anthony Stabile on next week. Please join us 8 p.m. Thursday. Uh, One other quick item, or actually a few quick items. The podcast pool. Once again, podcast pool 4. We're putting together a betting syndicate. The actual pool goes through the entire month of May on Saturdays. I do need to make sure I read some of this because we have a lot of people that are listening later, and I have to remind myself that people can't see the screen. We put together bets on Saturdays, mainly pick fives at major tracks. We're going to put together some big bets on those days. The deadline to send in money is tomorrow, Friday, noon Eastern. So depending when you hear this, you might not be able to join our podcast pool. But again, if you're interested, the money needs to be sent in by Friday, noon Eastern. And in addition to the podcast pool and bets on Saturdays with pick fives, we also are putting together a group $1 Superfecta ticket for the Kentucky Derby on Saturday. That is optional. You don't have to do that. But if you do want to play the Superfecta, you do need to be a part of our regular podcast pool. Any questions, please contact me, hcravitzhorse@gmail.com. But again, this deadline will end Friday at noon. Also, Race Day blog. Let me put that up on the screen real quick. I have a fantastic Race Day blog. This is where you get to decide the picks, and I just send you information. So it's only $3 every Saturday. I send ABC grids. I give you suggestions on pick fours, pick fives, spot plays, and price plays. The deadline for that, there is no deadline for that. You can purchase that anytime throughout the month. It's very inexpensive, only $3 every Saturday. Highly recommend you do that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to want to bring on my co-host right now as I just go through my rundown. I apologize for the beginning of the show. I thought another banner. I didn't expect to see myself on screen. A little tech issue there. I apologize for that. I have a banner that I want to show everyone, and as I show this banner, I want to bring my co-hosts on the screen. So let me bring my co-host first on the screen. They've done a great job all week. They're going to continue to do a great job on this show. Let's bring them on. From the East Coast, Paul Halloran and Pete Visco. Gentlemen, how you doing tonight?
What's up, Howard?
There you go. Paul, it's higher than that, buddy. I saw 1050. I saw 1057 about half an hour ago.
We can't keep up with it, Pete.
We can't.
You got to start rounding up, Paul. Round up.
Guys, you'll see something at the bottom of the screen. If you're wondering what that was, that is our current subscriber list. I just want to mention, I want to put you guys on because you guys are part of the success of this. Since my TVG appearance 2 weeks ago, we've had over 350 new subscribers on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. And just this week, over 5,000 views on YouTube, over 500 audio platform listens. I cannot thank everyone out there enough for your support. It's been tremendous. And before I let Paul and Pete just say a quick word about all that exciting news down there, don't go anywhere, folks, because obviously it's Derby week. This is a fantastic podcast. If you're new to it, I bring on famous guests once in a while, like Anthony Stabile next week. We'll talk about his life in horse racing and just a lot of fun stuff. And then we get into handicapping. So this is actually not the normal platform we have this week. Usually I have a guest for the first half, and we handicap the second half. Paul, I'll let you go first. Pretty exciting news there at the bottom, isn't it?
Yeah, it just is a typo, though. I think it's supposed to say since Pete and Paul became co-hosts. Right,
sorry. Pete, is that right? Let me change that. Hold on. Go ahead.
You could fix that for later. That's okay. But no, it's super exciting, and it's great that it all happened sort of, that your appearance and everything else happened just prior to Derby week, which is the most fun week probably to be on these shows. So it all coincided, perfect storm. So congratulations.
There you go. At the bottom, I just changed at the bottom there. It's only because of Pete and Paul, obviously. So anyway. I'm really grateful and thankful for all the support. Real quick before we bring on Justin Mustari, I want to wish everyone a happy Feliz Cinco de Mayo for all you that celebrate Cinco de Mayo today, and also a shout out to all you mothers out there. Happy Mother's Day this Sunday, grandmothers. If you are obviously a man, you're watching the show, and you have a spouse, I wish them happy Mother's Day. on behalf of the HHH Racing Podcast. I will say 11 years ago, I lost my mother to ovarian cancer. And every time it's this time of year, of course, on Mother's Day, I think about her. And it just so happens that, of course, Mother's Day coincides with Derby weekend. So I think perhaps Mom is smiling down on myself and all of us and help us get some winners. So happy Mother's Day to everyone out there. All right, guys, let's get on to the task at hand. We have a fantastic guest that I want to bring on. I'm very excited, and I want to make sure that I introduce him correctly because we had someone on last night that wanted to make sure we set the record straight. Excuse me. Another Chicago guy. And by the way, again, if you're new to the show, I'm not partial to Chicago guys, but listen, the Chicago handicappers have been absolutely killing it lately, especially the last several years. Let's bring on another one. This young man won the 2021 NHC Championship in Las Vegas. It is Frank's son, Justin Mustari. Justin, how you doing tonight?
Good. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Justin, how do you feel about Big Derby weekend? I'm sure, obviously, it's a big betting weekend for you and, of course, the Oaks as well on Friday. How excited are you about this weekend?
Yeah, it's going to be definitely a good weekend. We've got a little more of a bankroll to deal with now after the NHC win, so
we hear
a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to quick for everyone that doesn't know Justin, very briefly, Justin, if I had you on a normal show, by the way, we've talked to you for about half an hour about your life, your background. Tonight's a little bit different. We'd love to get you on the show, by the way, to do all that and talk about your history of betting and get into details. But tonight we're not going to have time for that. By the way, in case everyone's wondering, representing the Claiborne outfit tonight, so the black and gold of Claiborne, to give us a little luck to get that Kentucky connection. But real quick, Justin, tell everyone about yourself. You are the youngest NHC champ at 26 years old, native of Chicago, but you also have a lot of previous interest in baseball and golf. Tell just a little bit, everyone, about yourself as we start the show here.
Yeah, so I guess I got into the game at a pretty young age, just learning from my dad, going to the track, going to Arlington. My grandparents had a place near Gulfstream, so that was kind of like my getaway and go to Gulfstream, and that's kind of where I fell in love with horse racing. But yeah, I went to play golf at Aurora University. That's a big part of everything that I do. I play 4 or 5 times a week once the weather is better. We've been stuck in the 40s and rain for the last couple of weeks, and it looks like next week's going to be in the 70s. So yeah. Back to rolling. But I play in a bunch of amateur events throughout the summer. I play in 1 or 2 semi-pro events that you have to qualify into that I have in the past 4 or 5 years. But handicapping wise, I use Brisnet and Ragasons. I handicap the exact same way my dad does. Not saying that we pick the same horses, but it does come up a lot because I've learned the same way he does it and same way he comes up with outcomes and paces and all that kind of stuff. I've learned from him. So we're going to be most likely on a lot of the same horses.
And I heard that you're a pretty darn good golfer. I know you're a humble guy, but you were thinking of trying to attempt to turn pro at one point, correct?
Yeah, coming out of college, I thought about moving to Florida and try the mini tours and just decided that maybe I should start working for dad and start making some money. And I think that worked out.
Yeah, no, for sure. All I know about the Florida tour, I actually had a friend who played a little bit on the Florida tour. That is an absolute grind. I mean, it's just, It is so, people have no idea. I play golf. I'm not nearly as good as you, but I enjoy golf. It's just to get to the PGA Tour. I mean, it's sort of like baseball, right? There's a lot of minor leagues, etc. Yeah. It is just really damn difficult. But anyway, we're really happy that you're here tonight. Guys, I have one question before we handicap, and I did not prepare Paul and Pete for this, but I thought it would be fun. The very first Kentucky Derby memory that you have, whether it's someone telling you a story, maybe you saw maybe you saw it on TV. I'll go first. I was a late bloomer to this game. I've talked about it. I mean, I was not the kid that went to the track with my dad or anything. My family just didn't go to the track. My very first Derby that I can just recall watching or hearing about was the 1988 Derby with Winning Colors and Gary Stevens. I just thought it was so cool that a girl horse won the Derby. I'm just going to, Justin, we'll go Justin, Pete, and then Paul. Justin, first Kentucky Derby memory you can think of off the top of your head.
You say I've still yet to go to the Kentucky Derby. Say
Me
most
neither.
of my derbies have been at an OTB near Arlington at trackside with some
Yeah.
friends, and I was never someone who wanted to bet more than $1 exactas, $2 exactas. So I haven't been very successful in derbies, so I don't really have a great story for you on derbies. But hopefully this year this will be the one.
Pete, maybe a derby. I don't think you've been to. I don't think any of us have actually been to a derby. No, none of us have been to a derby. Pete, maybe one you saw on TV, or just the first time you remember, hearing about the derby, or just any memory in general.
Yeah, the one I remember the most is the one that I probably disliked the most is I think it was 89 when Sunday Silence beat Easy Goer, because Easy Goer is my all-time favorite horse. And so I always remember that one, and I still watch it to this day. So that's the one I remember. But I grew up more around harness, so that some of the harness big races were bigger to me as a young kid and a teenager than even some of the big thoroughbred races were.
Yeah, by the way, everyone watching, type on the screen there, what was your first derby memory? Paul, I think I know. I did some research, Paul. I think I know your first derby memory. Little Paul as a child on his transistor radio, the 1930 Derby with Gallant Fox. Am I correct?
Almost. You're off by just a few years.
That was his 21st birthday. It was your first
Yes,
beer too, Paul?
thank you.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
I only
right.
looked that old. The first one I really have a vivid memory of, I got caught up in the affirmed Alidar sequence. And I was on Alidar all 3 times because I like to go down with the ship. But I was 15, just about to turn 15 at that time. And I really wasn't playing. My first gambling was I went to the dog track when I was 16. But I remember vividly the affirmed Alidar all 3 races and rooting for Alidar all 3 times and him losing all 3 times.
How about Richard? Richard, thanks for joining the show. Saw the Secretariat. Wow, that must have been. By the way, he got a weird. I remember he broke slow right and then rushed up, and I mean he didn't win by that much. I mean I think he had a pretty good Belmont stakes if I recall. Anyway, Ralph just wants to shout out to you, Justin. We got another. I don't know. We got Anthony Stabile next week. Listen, Italians are good at horse race handicapping. What do you want me to do, guys? So Anthony's going to be bringing it next week. Representing Italy. So, great to have that. All right, guys, enough goofing around, enough messing around. Let's get to it. We're going to be doing tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is focusing on the stake races. Now, they have the stake races at Churchill on Saturday are going to be races 5 through 12. We are going to very briefly talk about races 5, 6, and 7, which are outside of the all stakes pick 5 sequence that we're going to be focusing on. Let's just get this out of the way right away. The weather looks like it's going to be clearing up a little bit starting around noon. I looked at an hourly report. It's going to be awful tomorrow. It's going to rain. All right. So if you don't like to bet slop and maybe real soft turf, don't bet tomorrow. Plain and simple. Sunday, the early part of the card, they started, what do they start, like 4 in the morning on the East Coast or something? They start at 10:30 in the morning at Churchill on these days. It's going to be raining early, but it is going to clear up. And from what I saw, it could stop raining as early as 3 or 4 o'clock completely. My guess, guys, is that it's going to be fast for the Derby. I really think the dirt's going to dry out. Churchill Downs is known very well for their dirt track drying out quickly. I really believe it's going to be dry or pretty close to dry, or at the very least good for the Derby. But everything else and before that, we'll just have to play it by ear. We're going to go ahead and bring up the Equibase right now for the 5th race. Let me go ahead and bring that up on the screen. Again, thanks everyone for joining us tonight. Got a few screens to flip here, so give me a second. We'll go to there. Let me take this banner off the screen. We're not going to put our picks on the screen, everyone, for the races 5, 6, and 7. When we get to the pick 5, we will put our picks on the screen. So, gentlemen, we're going to go very quickly through these races so we can focus on the pick 5. And, of course, we need to spend plenty of time on the Derby as well. Race 5 is, I'm going to go ahead and full screen here. Race 5 is the Longines Churchill Distaff Turf Mile. It's a grade 2, filly and mirrors, 4-year-olds and up on the turf. You see the field on the screen right there. A very interesting favorite coming from Europe, a new acquisition for guess who, Chad Brown and Flavian Speak of the Devil. Justin, as our guest tonight, I'm going to have you go first. Again, we're going to be very quick, though, with these 3 races. We can just pretty much give our top pick and maybe an interesting horse underneath. Justin, who do you like in this race?
Yes, I'm kind of waiting to see how they bet this 8 horse here. I don't have a lot of information Ragusan wise, and that's usually what kind of confirms my opinions a lot of times. I think Irad's going to for sure be on the lead, but it looks like Saez might push him a little bit. But I think it's those 3 outside horses that are going to be pretty chalky here.
All right, so Justin's going to 3 outside horses. Paul, what's your impressions of this race?
I'm looking at the 8, especially thinking that the turf is going to be something less than firm. This is another, Peter Brandt private purchase out of Europe, and his run on heavy turf the last 3 races, won the last 2. So I think, considering it's Brown and Pratt in the turf, I think he's going to take some beating. My interesting horse underneath would be the 5.
Pete?
Yeah, I could probably just repeat what Paul said. Although for the crew and for the listeners, we should probably pick an Italian, of course, the 7. But
yeah, how do you guys not go into? You are going to be thrown out. There's going to be some dead animals at your doorstep tomorrow morning.
I had it on my A line just for authenticity. So don't worry about that. But I actually agree. I mean, the 8 looks strong. The company he was running against over in Europe was amazing. And I actually too like the 5. I mean, if the 6 and 7 sort of hook up a little bit, then I think the 5, who cutting back to the mile, and I think ran a nice race last time out. So I'm sort of with Paul on that one. By the way, good job, Dean G. That would have been awesome to see Isidora at the Belmont. Sorry, I just wanted to comment on that one.
Oh, that would have been fantastic. Guys, I don't really have too much to add here. Just a few things for the viewers. Speak of the Devil has faced Space Blues 3 back, who won the Breeders' Cup mile. I will say, though, the milers in Europe have not been outstanding the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, there's no Goldakovas, so milers in Europe, of course, are going to be better than ours. But this one doesn't strike me as like a complete superstar. She's already 5 years old too, so I'm not saying she's not going to win. I'm just saying that I don't think she's a slam dunk by any means. I agree that I don't like an Italian, by the way, here at all, because I think Lady Spitespear inside is definitely going to push her along with some others. Guys, I love how we're thinking alike. Let me go full screen or put us back on screen. Wakanaka is on my my race day blog as an interesting price play in this race. We're not going to take time to deep dive in this race, but she got a weird trip last time. She closed really well into a slow pace. She handles the soft. I think Wakanaka is very interesting to possibly upset the 8 in this race on Saturday. Let's go on to race 6 as I go ahead and switch some screens here. Race 6 is the Knicks Go. Where's Matt Miller when we need him? Knicks Go, one of Matt Miller's favorite, of course, of all time. I think Justin probably knows why. Also, this is the Knicks Go overnight, but it is a stakes. I just want to go through real quick. It's race 6. It's 1 mile for older males. You see the field right there. The favorite is number 4, Dream Shake, for Peter Erden, Flavian Pratt. Paul, I'll have you go first here. Who do you like in this spot?
I'm going to try to get a price home here, Howard. I'm going to go with the wet track liking horse for course Necker Island, the 11. I think the race is really wide open. I think Dream Shake is a okay favorite. Maybe the 1-turn mile is just what he wants, but in a wide open race, we talked about this last night. I'm looking for value, and I think that this 11 has a puncher's chance, and I am going to go 11 on top as my key horse in this race.
Pete, who do you like here?
Surprise, surprise. I was just staring at the 11. That's who I sort of liked as a price play. And it was for the same reason, just taking a shot. If it is a little bit wet, even if it's not, just likes the course. Came back in 2022 with some, has figures that sort of match up with the rest of the field, if not exceed many of them. And then the same thing, I think Dream Shake is sort of classy. Went off stride a little bit in those couple, then came back though. Nice win. has Pratt, came back with a 93. So maybe the growth from 3 to 4 helped this horse out, and now it's back doing what it likes. I think the mile sort of hits this one right where it wants to be.
Justin, how'd you see this race?
I like a little bit of a price here. The 7 South Bend came back last time going 7 furlongs, a little bit sloppy, but still ran all right off of a layoff. But those two races back and 3 races back have really, he stepped up there. So if he can run back to those numbers, I know there's not a ton of speed here, but I think he can run back to some good numbers going a mile.
Yeah, I've actually chased South Bend a bunch of times, Justin. I have a thing for him. I don't know what it is. He always seems like he's underrated to me. This horse has won over 600,000 for Gary Barber in the Watch All Stables. He always runs. He doesn't always get there, but he usually runs well. So I have him in the mix. I have him as a B horse in my ABC play. Guys, I'm not being real creative in this race. I would say I'm chalking it out, but he's second choice. Shared Sense had a track record-breaking time last time, and I know last night, as I bring this back on screen, I emphasized, Justin, I'm sure you feel the same way as an excellent handicapper, not to overemphasize the last running line. It's one of the biggest mistakes that handicappers make. So here I am now. People think, well, he must like Shared Sense because of the last race. No, go back, everyone. This horse has been very good for quite a while. He's got Giroux. He's got a inside, slot there. He's already won on the wet. I don't like the 3-1. But I think this horse is in great form and has just as good a shot as most of them. So I'm going with Shared Sense.
Hey, Howard.
Top.
Yes, sorry. Real quick, I was going to say, I don't know if you were going to put up some of the odd bets, but this also is the kickoff of the all dirt pick 5, which we're not necessarily. I mean, I guess we're going to go over them.
Yeah.
Just by chance, but that's just for the listeners that there's an all dirt pick 5 races. 6, 7, 8, 10, 12. Oh, okay, you do have that up. Sorry, I didn't know. Remembered you put one up last night, but just wanted to
I didn't have it up. You just folks, I've had a long week. This is podcast number 4. I've not taken a day off of school. I do my job. My job's more important. I love doing this as well. So no, I just flat out forgot, Pete. Let me go full screen. If you want to comment anything real quick, Pete, Paul, or Justin, Pete, anything here that suits your fancy?
Well, I was going to definitely play, so I was just trying to look at them to make sure you don't miss any, but I'm definitely want to play the all dirt pick 5. I sort of like that one. And then the interesting one is, I don't know if it's on there. Is there the 3-year-old pick 3? That's an interesting one. Races 7, 9, and 12. Good races. Obviously you get the Derby in there. So you're going to, you definitely can get a nice price on that. I think just because of the spread that'll happen in the Derby. So I think those are the 2 that I like the most.
Justin, we've got a little minute to talk about this. I don't know if you're a horizontal. I know your dad's more of a vertical player. He likes trifectas, exactas. Let me go ahead and put us on screen a little bit here. Would you consider yourself more of a vertical player, a horizontal player? And then would any of these bets on the screen interest you Saturday?
Yeah, I don't think I'll play too many of them. I like to play exactas and tries. I kind of handicap to try to find, let's say, where the favorites aren't as good or a little vulnerable. And I like to try to find some prices that are going to run in there and give me some good value. So another horse here that has some value, I think, is the 8, who's 15-1 morning line. I'm not sure if he will be 15-1, but there's not a ton of speed here. So if he does get an easy lead here, I don't know if he can completely hold on, but his last couple of races have been better than the program is showing.
Yeah, I have the 8 as a B, Justin. I agree. And don't ask me about morning lines because Paul Halloran will get mad at me. But this horse, let's just say this horse is not going to be 15-1. I liked him last time. I was actually a little disappointed. He started a pick 5 bet that he was part of a pick 5 bet we started, and Eben ran a race like out of nowhere and blew up the pick 5 in the first leg at like 30-1. That let's just say pissed me off. But anyway, that's another story for another day. Paul, any of those bets that would interest you? Let me go back to that.
Well, they all interest me, Howard. I'm kind of a what you might call a serial horizontal player, much to my detriment a lot. So
I hear you, my friend. I hear you.
I'm going to have to. Well, maybe I won't have to pick and choose. It's the goddamn Derby. Maybe I'll just play all of them.
Why not? All right, there you go. Enough said. There's our words of wisdom for the HHH Racing Podcast. Play every horizontal play. Why not? Now,
And especially, Howard, the late pick 5 that ends in race 14 at 8:30. That if you you cannot be a true degenerate if you are not playing race 14 10 hours after first post.
Paul, I love a horse in that race.
There you go.
It's a first-time starter, by the way. All right.
Right.
Anyway.
I'm playing.
All right. I'll give you right now. The 11 could be a monster first-time starter. Okay, there you go. At what was that, 10:30 local time? Whenever that race goes off.
8:30. 8:30.
All right. All right. Anyway, we like to have fun on this show, everyone, and so join us in the fun. Let's go ahead and move on, guys, to the next race here of the sequence. Let me just do a little switching around. Now, this is the last race before the pick 5 starts that we're going to be focusing on. This is the Pat Day Mile. Always a really fun race. It's a big field. It's race 7. This is for restricted for 3-year-olds. They're going that one-turn shoot, 1 mile. And there is a horse, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to take a lot of money. Was fantastic last year. Justin, I'm going to have you go first in this race. The morning line favorite is Jack Christopher, coming back from his 2-year-old year for Chad Brown and Jose Ortiz. Justin, can Jack Christopher lose?
Yeah, I mean, we have a little question mark that he hasn't run in, 9-10 months. I mean, I think that's the only question mark you could possibly have, and Chad Brown probably has this horse ready to go. But is he going to be even money? I mean, I would like to try to play against him, but if you want to play him on top in some tries and try to get some prices in there, and I'm kind of curious to see what Pletcher's going to do back with my prankster. He was going 7 furlongs, trying to get the horse to stretch out a little bit. But one of my prices here is the O-Captain, the 12, Gustavo Delgado. He had this horse running in some big races, kind of on the somewhat of the Derby trail there. But he seems to place these horses all right, and that horse can be a big number.
Justin, I'm laughing a little bit because this horse was my prize play for the Florida Derby. I loved what he did in the Fountain of Youth. He didn't fire. I don't know why he didn't fire in the Florida Derby. I was pretty disappointed. Great, hopefully great. Well, I don't know about my great mind, but like minds think alike. I've actually got this horse as a B. I think this thing could fall apart, and I think he's fascinating, by the way. So, yeah, Justin, great.
Last 2 races have been pretty consistent, so I think there's a chance for him to improve here, especially going back to the mile. So we'll see what happens.
I hear you, Justin. I think he's at least underneath, right? I think he's interesting at least underneath. Paul, who do you like?
Well, you know, Howard, I thought that Chad Brown, if he could have, had outside thoughts of maybe getting Jack Christopher ready to maybe take a run at the Derby. Obviously, he wasn't ready in time to get on the trail and get the points. As Justin said, if he's right, I think he's tough to beat. However, having said all of that, and I'm on Team Chad all weekend, I think you got to try to take a crack against him. With that layoff that Justin referenced. Although it is Chad, but I think he's looking at about even money and big field, having run for the first time in a long time.
Never run on slop either, by the way.
Yeah, but with being a Munnings, it's probably not gonna bother him a whole lot. But again, if you play him, as Justin said, you got to look at, try to get some prices underneath. I was looking also at the Pletchers, the 11, my prankster. There's an interesting horse in here, another Bob Baffert alumnus in this race, who was on the trail himself for a while, lost the Forbidden Kingdom twice, Doppelganger. So he took the plane ride along with Messier and Taba. So it'd be interesting to see how he is bet as well. 6-1 morning line. I think he's probably not going to be 6-1.
Let's just put this out there. Tim got this horse, ran him one time, and did not run him to the same that Baffert did, went a little bit backwards. So that may be something to look forward to in the Derby.
Ooh, wow. Oh, well, throwing shade at Tim Yakteen. I love it. Justin firing from his house.
That's hard to do from getting from Baffert. That's going to be
Well,
tough to make
that's a
from
whole
the
other.
same or improve.
Well, some people think, Justin, that even though it says Yakteen on the program, it's really bad for
I
anyway.
agree
I
with
think
that.
you know Jimmy Barnes is part of the Yakteen team, right? I mean, so
Yeah.
you know Jimmy Barnes, if you don't know, is Baffert's assistant who is working for Tim Yakteen. I mean,
Yeah.
so anyway, he didn't get a great trip in that race. He didn't break well. Anyway, we're not going to get into the details, but Doppelganger could be interesting on the turn back. Pete.
Yeah, I'll just mention two quick ones. The one, Major General, I thought his first one back, two back, he stumbled at the start and he was just sort of out of it. For someone who likes to be a little bit closer in the Tampa Bay Derby, he was done early, and it looked like they just wrapped him up pretty quickly in that one. Came back in the Lexington, and Tawny Port isn't exactly a dirt specialist, but I thought that having Major General sort of duel on the lead and then put away the speed, and the speed faded out, and Major General held on. I thought that would be that's a good outcome, because after that first race, you hope that you just want to see that one come back and run a good race. Now, if he steps forward a little bit more, and Jack Christopher doesn't, or Kavad goes with Jack Christopher and sort of wears him out, then I think Major General out of the one hole could probably sit close to those two. And then just one bomb I want to mention quick is the 9 Trafalgar. He broke his maiden at a mile at Churchill Downs, closed like a freight train, comes back, gets a win, but then they stretch him out a little bit in the Lecomte and then the Risen Star. I think it was just too far for him. He broke way back. He was a step slow. He was just sort of out of it. Now I think maybe this horse, based on his breeding, is just better going a little shorter. I think there could be some pace up front. If there is, this one can clunk up. And even if he doesn't get the win, he could at least hit the second or third and get in your exotics at a nice big price.
There is some Major General love out there by Dean G. Rupram, thanks for joining the show. We definitely have some love for Major General. Everyone ready for this? I think Major General should be 20-1 in this race. I hate this horse on Saturday. He's coming back in like 2 weeks. He ran a nice number last time, but he got an easy lead in Lexington and really gave it up with no excuse. This is a completely different race. If Major General wins, I'll be out of the pick 5. I hate this horse. I can't. This 9-2 is okay. Anyway, I'll move on. I'll give you my opinion. Now, I have a little bit of intel, and take this for whatever it's worth, everyone. But I was at, a lot of you know, I was at Keeneland a few weeks ago for my appearance, and I went to Claiborne Farm, as you see my outfit. I also went to Coolmore, and let me just say this for everyone. I talked to a few people. Coolmore stands at, Munnings, the sire of Jack Christopher, stands at Coolmore. And Jack Christopher came up in conversation because people were excited that he was running on Derby Day. They already knew at that point. I talked to more than one person who said Jack Christopher is working unbelievably. This is not me talking. These are people at Coolmore who've either seen Jack Christopher work in person or know firsthand knowledge. So I don't know how he's going to do Saturday. I'm just going to tell you that 100% for sure he's been working fantastically. And the other thing I'll say, I don't know if you guys feel this way, I've seen much better Pate miles. This Pate mile doesn't do a lot for me. I don't think it's a real high quality Pate mile. I have two strong opinions I want to say. Jack Christopher, obviously, if he's ready, will win. My interesting horse here is Papacat, and I'm sort of chuckling inside to myself because people that follow this show or the Race Day blog know that I have hated Papacat like all spring, all Derby prep long. All this horse does is get good trips after good trips and doesn't really cash in, and I've been completely against Papacat in generally speaking. However, I thought he ran real well in the Florida Derby. I know, Justin, your dad, I'm assuming you also follow Gulfstream quite a bit. He surprised me. I mean, he took the lead at one point on the far turn. I thought, wow, maybe this will be his day. I love the turn back for Papacat. He's been working well. I think he's getting better. Other than Jack Christopher, I see no reason why Papacat can't be a big play for you on Saturday. So I like the turn back. I love Flavian, obviously. Look, by the way, if you like Tomlinson's, he's got a 473 Tomlinson number in the wet. So you figure he would handle an off track by Gunrunner, Scat Daddy, blah, blah, blah. The other one I'll mention quickly, Tejano Twist is a little interesting to me. I think he could be one of the better closers in this race. He's got buyers that fit. I'm not a huge fan of Joe Rocco, but he's got buyers that fit. It's a practical joke. I don't think the stretch out's going to be bad. I don't know. I don't like him on top. I'm just throwing out Tejano Twist as maybe a bomb underneath. But I really think this Papacat can run the best race of his career on Saturday. And if Jack Christopher is not ready, it would not shock me if Papacat upsets the field. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into, by the way, Bittersweet. Thank you, Bittersweet. Appreciate that. One person likes Papacat. That's enough for me. All right, let's get into the pick 5. And I'm going to go ahead and put us here full screen as I bring everything up. Justin, this late pick 5, or not late pick 5, excuse me, all stakes pick 5. In general, I know you don't play a lot of pick 5s. Is this pick 5 something you might dive into on Saturday? Do you like to at least play horizontally on big days, or you just totally play vertically?
I do every once in a while if I like a single. If I don't like a single, I'm not putting the money in. I don't like to bet crazy amount of money. So if I like a single, I will play it for sure.
Okay. Good to know. And you know what? Everyone's got different strategies. I mean, obviously, Justin can handicap, obviously. You don't have to be a horizontal player to win money. I mean, some of my best scores, I don't know about you, Paul and Pete, have been like trifectas where maybe a Kia bomb in second or third, and you have it a few times. So obviously, there's a lot of ways in the game to make money. We're going to hope to make some money for everyone right now as we're going to jump in to the all stakes pick 5, race 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Here we go. This is, of course, on Saturday. Justin, we're going to have you go first here as I go ahead and set up the screen that I want to. There it is. All right. Actually, we'll go full screen here for this. It starts in race 8, 2:48 approximately Eastern Standard Time. It's the Derby City Distaff. It's 7 furlongs for older fillies and mares on the dirt. Now, Justin, I think I sent this out to you. I know I sent this out to Paul and Pete. And if I did not send this out to you, Justin, I want to greatly apologize in front of all of YouTube world. The number 1 Lady Rocket is going to be out. Lady Rocket is not running on Saturday. That was per the connections as of yesterday. It was also on Twitter today. That is a major scratch in this race, especially from a pace perspective. The morning line favorite, not as of now, the morning line favorite is the number 2, Just One Time, a real nice PA bred for Cox and Pratt. So my first question to you, Justin, is were you aware of the scratch? And number 2, would that affect how you're playing this race?
Yeah, I was not aware of it, and that completely changes the pace of the race.
Then I feel awful. I greatly apologize. I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a chance.
Well, I have my opinion now that I know that.
I'm sorry?
I do have an opinion now that I know.
Okay, because I can skip to the others if you want to come back. You're good?
No problem. Yeah, I was going to assume this is probably similar to a rematch from the Madison, and now you add in Edgeway, who I think is now going to be the speed. But I think he could have sat second off of Lady Rocket previously, but I think this horse is going to go to the lead, and that last race he came off of was very, very good. So I think that's going to be my pick now. I was on Bell's the One, who has just been an unbelievably consistent horse and was a little further back last time and kind of made an early move and just one time kind of caught him at the end. But I mean, that horse is as consistent as it comes. And if I'm going to bet my money on someone at 5-6 to 1, Bell's the One was probably the one I was going to play.
Justin, what are your top 3? I'll switch it so people can see on the screen. You're going 7. Are you going 7-2-4 now, or you have to readjust everything?
Fine. Yeah.
7-2-4. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see. And by the way, again, our co-hosts and guests do not know each other's picks. So this is the first time on the bottom of the screen, Justin, you see the scroll there. You'll see everyone's top 3 picks. And we can talk a little bit longer. Justin, you like Edgeway, and you have the number 2, Just One Time. Boy, is she good right now. Justin.
Yeah. A little bit concerned with Edgeway going 7 furlongs. But I don't think there's going to be a ton of pace here unless Kamari decides that he wants to go straight to the lead. I mean, that's been kind of a weird horse. I had some serious doubles to Kamari in the Breeders' Cup that That horse did not perform on the turf there. Golden Pal went crazy there. But yes, I mean, Just One Time seems to keep improving. I just don't know how much of that last race is as accurate as it looks. A little muddy, and I think it was kind of a fast pace. But I mean, I don't know if there's going to be a ton of pace here, unless the 3 sends, which Tyler doesn't seem to do that very often. But I think Edgeway might hold on here.
Okay. Pete, we'll go to you. You've got the horse that Justin was talking about, Just One Time, who I didn't love last time, to be honest. I wanted to see it one more time, and boy, she shoved it right up my giggy and won again.
Yeah, there's a couple things. I mean, obviously you like 2 for 2 since entering the Cox barn, second time with Pratt, has run on an off track, likes undefeated on the distance. So all the obvious numbers. And then the one thing I liked, I watched the race 2 back again, and I basically lost a ton of ground, and 4 Graces kind of just sat a perfect trip and still just sort of mowed her down at the end. And then the last one was just another one, just out closing Bell's the One, which is a trick in itself. I mean, anytime you could out close her and sort of fly by her too. I mean, it looked closer than it probably was. I just think this one is in such great form right now. And again, with Cox and Pratt, that she's going to show up and she's going to run her race. The only thing I almost, I don't know if you want to,
well,
pop that up because the stretch drive is pretty good on this one.
Yeah, we'll show the stretch again. Look, I mean, if you look again, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are all coming out of the race last time. I guess you want to focus on the 4 and 5. I'll let you, Pete, since this is your horse. I'll let you. Well, let me.
You could really just.
Here's
skip
the 5.
the end.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the 4 on the outside is
Just One Time.
Just One Time. And you could see she actually rolled from, I think, if I remember correctly, she rolled from last and just sort of swept the field. Bell's the One was in front of her, sort of got the jump. And you assume if Bell's the One gets the jump on you, it's going to be hard to catch because she's such a monster closer and always runs her race. So, yeah, you see her sort of sweeping there. So she had been in last pretty much and sweeps the field, and she's following Bell's the One and just out kicks her at the end, and even doesn't get a straight shot, has to sort of go around her. So I just sort of think that one is in shape. And then one other one I'll just mention who I love, because I was going skinny here with just the 2 if I was doing when I do the pick 5, is Obligatory. I know that's your horse, so I don't want to steal your thunder too much.
No, go ahead.
I just thought her last race, watching that replay of her last race, she ran like someone who went from a horse that went from 3 to 4 and just improved in leaps and bounds. Now, again, wasn't the greatest field in the world, but it was a solid field. But she won it like you're supposed to. She swept the field. She engulfed them. And then she just, she ran away like it was a workout. And I sort of just think maybe if she comes back and she's a much better horse, which that 95 buyer in her first one off a nice layoff shows, then you don't know. I think the sky's the limit for this one.
She's one of my daughters, as everyone knows.
Yeah, I know you love her
from last year. This was a pretty weak field, but
it was weak. But I'll take it anyway.
Pete, is this not the perfect prep, though? I mean, this is absolutely a perfect prep, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, you get some fitness, and not even just that. It still popped the buyer top, her lifetime buyer top. She pops that anyway against a field that wasn't that great. It wasn't like it was some hot pace that, super hot pace that she ran into. She did it completely professionally and swept the field and just sort of won going away, and I love that.
So the pace situation here is going to be fascinating, and Justin, I agree that Tyler's not usually a send, but I mean, what is Center Isle? Center Isle has to go, right? I mean,
she just broke.
The only chance she has is to go, right? You would think.
Yeah.
So Center Isle has to go. You can see my picks on the screen, everyone. When the scratch occurred, I immediately went to Edgeway. So Justin, I think we're sort of thinking the same way here. And Paul also has the 7.
I think Edgeway could sit. I think Edgeway could sit second too if Center Isle sends. I mean, I think that would be better, but I think Edgeway could get the lead by herself.
Paul, is that what you're thinking, that Edgeway might sit, get the lead? You have this horse on top, Paul. Go ahead.
Yeah, I went into at first glance, I just I loved Just One Time last time, and I want to talk about her a little. But I went into this thinking that both she and Bell's the One would be tough, and then I looked at the race flow and I said, I look at this race as kind of being opposite of the 8 Bells tomorrow, which we talked about last night, and I think is going to kind of melt down. I think this race is going to be won from on or near the pace, and especially with Lady Rocket out, I think Edgeway sits a perfect trip. I agree with Justin. I don't think she has to go to the lead. I think 7 furlongs, you want to be out there. Johnny V can kind of pick and choose what he wants to do. But Just One Time is a great story. I happen to know, I wrote about her last summer. 2 guys named Don Brown and Tom McClay bought the mare Ida Clark in full to Not This Time for only $45,000. And this ended up being the full. It looks like after 2 starts ago, looks like they sold the horse and kept the piece. But Tom McClay, you'll be interested, Howard, went to college in Boston at Wentworth. And the first time he ever went to the track was with his roommate's father, who took them to Suffolk Downs. So between being
Wow.
between being a PA bred and Tom McClay, the co-breeder, being a Suffolk Downs first track experience, I'm rooting for the 2 regardless of who I play.
I hear you. Justin, by the way, Paul writes for the Saratoga Special. He's a journalist as well, and he writes, does a lot of great work for the Saratoga Special in Saratoga Springs. So that's one of many reasons why I love having Paul on the show.
Hey Howard, can I just tangent that for a sec? Hey Paul,
I love Pete having the show because Pete always has great ideas and great numbers. So
no, this
go
isn't
ahead,
a
Pete.
number. This one's not a number. I actually I watched Birdstone beat Smarty Jones in the Belmont at Suffolk Downs because I lived in Boston for a couple of years, so I used to go to Suffolk. So I actually watched that race at Suffolk. Weird place because I've only was there a few times and saw one of the more historic Belmonts just to watch.
I'll end the conversation to start this pick 5. We do have 4 more races to talk about, including the Derby. I hope Johnny V sits. I think Center Isle is going to go, guys. I really do. I mean, she has to go. But the great thing about Edgeway here is Johnny's going to – this horse has a lot of natural speed, and Johnny's going to peek to his left. He's going to look to his left. If Center Isle goes, she can sit off. If she doesn't go, Edgewood looks absolutely clear on the lead. But here's the weird thing, guys. I think Edgewood might be better sitting off. I mean, look at her races, right? I mean, she ran lights out in the Breeders' Cup just off the pace. Last time she was a little bit off the pace. It wasn't a great field, but when she's on the lead, it just doesn't look like she fires as well. Even look back to like in last year, these 94s are 2 of her better races just off the lead. Any way you look at it, and if Edgeway is on a slow, easy lead, I don't see anything wrong with that either. Anyway, I like Edgeway a lot here because of the scratch mainly. My second choice would be obligatory. You guys already said everything that needs to be said. Not because I had her last year in the
Binky, Howard's Binky.
I love this horse, but I think you guys are right. I'm not sure it's going to set up for her. And as good as she is, this is a very good field. So I'm going 7, 5, 2. Here we go. Just One Time is going to have to prove to me again. I don't know. I have nothing against the horse. If she's going to close, I think that's going to be a major problem. But Pratt is so damn good. He'll probably find a way to get this horse home again. All right, let's get on to the next race. It's going to be a really nice race to kick out the pick 5 here. Race 9 is the next race on the docket. And Paul Hallard, you're going to be going first here, sir. Race 9 is the American Turf. Again, we're going to assume that everything's going to be on the turf. We have to assume that the turf is definitely going to be wet, though, and soft. I'd be shocked if it's not. It's grade 2 for males, 3-year-olds. They're going a mile and a 16th. Morning line favorite. It's a big field of 11. The morning line favorite here at 7-2 is 1 for Graham Motion, Dog, and IRAD. Let me go ahead and switch the banners here. Paul, who do you like in this race?
I have the 6 on top, Howard. I'm on Team Chad. This is a great angle for him, a graded stakes off the layoff on the turf, 32%, although everything's a good angle for him. Dog is running very well, obviously, 3 for 3. Is a little pace dependent, so we'll have to see how that plays out. And again, Portfolio Company is a horse who figures to go, and he's coming off a layoff, and you might have trepidation, but it's just Chad has these horses ready to go, and I don't know what he's going to go off at, but if he's 9-2, I'm going to take my chances with Chad in graded stakes off the layoff.
And you've got Dog, who you mentioned in second, who what I really like about Dog, this is an angle that I've learned a lot over the last few years, especially horses that close into slow paces. I mean, he did that against a decent field last time at Keeneland. Paul.
Yes, I agree, Howard. I think he can be on the board pretty much regardless of the pace. I think when I said he's pace dependent, I was really kind of thinking more on the win end. But I think this horse can be right in the picture regardless. He's running very well, and you give Graham Motion a good turf horse. He knows what to do with them. So his numbers are okay. He's progressed slightly. He does have the recency advantage over the 6 coming off that race at Keeneland. So yeah, I think he could be a handful.
And I want to give you your just due, Paul, because Pete also has this price shot in third, Royal Spirit.
Yeah, I was, again, looking for someone to pick third. The horse is on the board 4 out of 6. And, again, 15-1 morning line, Todd, Tyler, seems to hit the board. His numbers are not far off of the horse next to him, Side Dog. Side Dog's got an 82. He's got a 79 on the buyer. So, I think he's a good board play. That strictly underneath.
Okay. Pete, you also like Dog on top. Let's talk about your second choice, if you don't mind.
No.
Dawajiak Chief, 10-1, a speed horse that James Graham bobblehead, very underrated jockey. I've talked about him a lot on this show. I assume you think he might have a chance to steal this on the front end.
Yeah, that's my thought. My thought is if he can clear, the one thing I liked is if you threw out the Ruby, or he just didn't run in the Jeff Ruby stakes, and he came off that 88 buyer win by 5 at this distance, what would his odds be? I feel like he would be lower than 10. I'm not saying he's going to be the favorite or anything, but I feel like he would be lower. So I think just because he's got a little muddy entry on that top line there, that maybe you're getting a better price than you normally would. And again, if I can just get speed on the top, I think this is potentially the best speed if he can clear. So anytime I can get that, I'm going to take it, especially at a price.
I want to mention to the viewers, you see this number at the top, this red number of 150 time form. That is, and Justin, I don't know if you followed time form and figs or not, but I know Brisnet's got early and late pace figs also.
Yep.
150 is absolutely flying early. Just to give you everyone some context, the Breeders' Cup Distaff at Del Mar last year, which we talked about yesterday, was a 156 early pace, and that was like the fastest early pace I think I've ever seen for a 2-turn race. So what I'm just trying to, I'm giving Pete credit, and the more I like this 11 is that the reason he got caught up in a crazy fast pace, Pete, and it didn't exactly completely fall apart against
Not at all.
Tiz the Bomb. So I by the way, I have the 11 as a B. I think he's interesting.
Can I say one? Oh, sorry. I was just going to say before about the 8. The one thing I like too at the 15-1 that Paul mentioned is Coinage is 6-1, and if you look, 2 back beat Coinage, and even last year beat Coinage. So it's another one where maybe you're catching a price when Coinage looks, I don't know, they're playing Coinage ahead of Royal Spirit, maybe because again that last race looks a little sloppy for Royal Spirit, 5th by 8. Maybe they don't like that, but you're getting that horse at 15 when Coinage, if you like Coinage at all, at 6, you kind of have to like Royal Spirit at 15, maybe, depending on if you like whether he'll get the trip or not.
You're not possibly saying that the morning line's a bit off, are you?
Hey, we don't need to do that 4 days in a row now, do we?
No, we don't.
No, nobody.
Hey, Justin, I'm sorry your face is covered up with this comment. This because we have a lot of people.
No problem.
Do you want to comment on this question at the bottom of the screen? What do you use for pace numbers?
I look a lot at the early pace figures on Brisnet. That's kind of how I come up with my paces, late pace, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so you use Brisnet.
Yeah.
Justin, you've got the 5 here on top. Belinikov coming in for D'Amato and Franco, who was in Europe, has one race, the Singletary. By the way, love that horse. Back at Breeders' Cup memory. Ran very well, just lost to Sumter. What do you like about Balnikov?
Yes, I think coming to the U.S., the horse ran all right, broke's a little slow. and was I think it was only a 5 or 6 horse field, but Sumter was on the lead, and he kind of closed on him and basically lost a terrible head bob. But I think second time here, maybe break a little bit better. But I'm kind of playing this race as potential of a good amount of speed. So I think he was closing pretty well.
There's the slow, everyone just saw. There's the stutter step, sort of typical of Euros, right?
Yeah,
Justin, this happens
definitely.
first time out. You see, it's broke a little slow. It took a little while for him to gather, and we'll just show the end of the race if you want to comment right here.
Yeah, it looks like he goes by here and ends up losing the bob.
And so you're expecting improvement. I'm assuming the softer turf won't bother him at all. Is your thought?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
still don't know how he lost.
Yeah, that was. I don't think you don't want to keep seeing that replay in photo
No.
because
I'm not looking forward to another photo like that.
I gotta be honest. I actually had him that day too, Justin. I couldn't believe he lost. That was a brutal photo.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Justin. No, go ahead, Justin.
I agree a little bit with the 11. His last 3 starts as a 3-year-old have really stepped up here. My only concern is coinage has a little bit of speed too, so I'm not a fan of 2 speed horses coming from the outside. And last out, Main Event wired the field, and I don't think there's any chance Jose has given up this lead here after running the way he did last time. So I'm a little worried of a kind of a fast pace here.
Jose's what horse is he? Oh,
he's on the 2 Main Event.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Let me go to Main Event so people can just see what we're talking about. And again, if you're listening, Main Event is the 2 horse who also shows some speed. I do want to push back a little bit, Justin. And listen, you don't never know about jockey intent, blah blah blah. But because I am a time form guy a bit, I just want to mention that the audience here that Main Event has an 89 early pace time form fig. The aforementioned coinage has a 93 early pace, but then you go to the 11, 112, Justin. So at least according to time form and Craig Wilkowski, bobblehead James Graham on the 11 should be able to clear if he wants. And any comment on that?
Yes, I think it all depends on the break. Who's going to get out the gate that first step right away? And you got Giroux on the 10 right next to him, and he's definitely he can do what he needs to do.
You've stolen base for Flavian in second that no one's mentioned yet.
Yes, the 9 stolen base. His last 4 races actually have been very good. He's going to be really coming from last, I'm thinking. But he's been on the synthetic his last 2 times. Ran consistent with his turf race 3 starts back. He's going to be closing deep, and if you think it's going to be a little bit of speed up there, I think he's going to be one that it's going to be a big number, so you got to play him.
Steven has a question at the bottom of the screen. Well, it's not really a question; it's more of a statement. But Justin, I think he meant it to be a question. When we show these picks on the board, I'm assuming Steven just wants to know those that's who you play in exactas and tries as well. Obviously, right? I would assume.
Yeah. The only one that my goal here was to actually play exactas and tries with the 7 as well on top. I think he is definitely a runner, and if you're going to play off of speed, he's going to be closing for sure. But I also like the 4 Red Danger, who ran second to Main Event and kind of sat 4th and 5th there. But this horse just keeps running his race all the time, and he's going to be a decent number as well. So I'm going to play around the 5 and 7 on top and see if the 4 or 9 can run in there with him.
I agree with you, Justin. You see at the bottom of the screen, I've got 7-5. We'll move quickly. I hope people are interested in my opinion, but I want to show a lot of respect to my co-hosts and guests here because I can go and talk forever. I love Dog. The fact that he is second off the layoff by Slumber. I don't think that the soft turf is going to be an issue. And closing into this is not going to be a slow pace. At least on paper, it doesn't look that way. I like Dog at 7-2. I agree with Justin with Balnikov. Slightly concerned. I know D'Amato's not great shipping, but Little Red Feather is not going to send here. If they don't think that he has a big shot. So I like the 5. And then I've got Portfolio Company, who we haven't really talked about that much. for Chad coming off a layoff, but ran well last year as a 2-year-old. And Chad's going to come, with his runners ablazing here on a huge day. So I'm going 7, 5, 6. I'm also using 211 as Bs. So Justin, I agree a little bit with you on the 2. I've got 211 as Bs in case the speed holds up, and I've got the 9 as a C. Again, Justin, thinking maybe if it completely falls apart. I'm against coinage completely. I don't like the 10 here at all, personally.
Me too.
All right. Let's move on, guys. And I'm going to selfishly go first, if you guys don't mind, in this next race. So let's go ahead and flip to the next race of the day. This is race 10 as I go ahead and switch. I got three. There you go, folks. There's the picks on the bottom of the screen. Let's talk about the Churchill Downs stakes. This is one of my favorite races of the year, actually, guys, because it brings together some of the best sprinters in the country. It's 7 furlongs. How about $750,000 for this purse? Of course, they're running maiden races for 120, so I guess what's the big deal to run for 750? They're going 7 furlongs, older horses. The morning line favorites at 5-2. At 5-2, I'm moving on, Paul. At 5-2 is Jackie's Warrior, who is an absolute beast. Stumbled, on his toes last time in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. I am going, as you can see on the screen, I'm not being real cute here. I'm going 3-5-1. Jackie's Warrior on paper looks like he's going to get the lead, ladies and gentlemen. This is a really, really good horse. I mean, everyone knows this horse. If you're against Jackie's Warrior because the last race, in my opinion, don't be. That was a very fast pace. He got pushed the entire way, and Rosario didn't really press on him that much late. I think it's a perfect prep. I have no concern about the distance because he likes Churchill. He handles the slop. He got a mile last year in the Pat Day Mile. I think this horse is going to be 6-5. He has a 137 early time form rating. There is some other tactical speed in this race, but there's no one that can go with Jackie's Warrior. If Jackie's Warrior breaks, this is your winner, ladies and gentlemen, and I would single him and weigh on this horse very, very heavily. My sort of cute horse, I don't know about cute horse, but Reinvestment Risk would be my second choice. Has the buyers to fit, but I don't think he's faced. I actually faced Jackie's Warrior a lot when he was a 2-year-old. Reinvestment Risk, for some reason, guys, I don't think is quite as good as his buyer. And I can't really say why. He's got just perfect trips. I just don't think he's as good as Jackie's Warrior, even though the numbers might say that he is. But I think I've got him for second. I suppose if something happens, this is the horse that I want. And then I have Aloha West, who I loved last year in the Breeders' Cup. And I'm still pissed to this day, Justin, as I played in the BCBC and actually made a run up to 13th at one point, that I did not go Aloha West with Love's and pair him up with a horse, because I liked Aloha West in this race and just had a little bit of a win bet, not enough really to make a difference. I don't like this spot in general because I don't like the rail going 7, and I'm not sure this race is going to fit his clothes, and he's off a layoff. So I guess Aloha West can win, but I'm a bit negative to him in this race on Saturday. Justin, I'll have you go second. You have Jackie's Warrior on top also.
Yep. Yes, I think that last race was a prep and still ran huge on the figures here. I'm a little bit against Aloha West. I'm curious if something happened after that race, and maybe a little bit too much of a celebration, maybe. But I am going to be a little bit against Aloha West. I'm possibly exactas here, but I will not be playing Aloha West. The other horse I like, the 7 Mind Control, second off the layoff for Pletcher. Last year was running some serious figures, and they ran all right in the coming back off the layoff, and Johnny V's back aboard now. So I think that horse is going to be possibly a decent price.
He's as honest as the day is long. That's a horse that Paul and Pete have seen a lot out on the East Coast. Just a real nice 6-year-old. And then real quick, anything about Cezanne you want to mention, Justin? You got him third.
Yeah, I have him in there. If it wasn't Pletcher who got this horse, I'd be completely against him. But I'm sure Pletcher wouldn't put him here if he wasn't ready. So I'm sure he's going to sit second, third, and be closing coming home.
Well, that's a perfect transition to Paul, because Paul, you've got Cezanne on top.
Yeah, I like Cezanne in this race. Now, having said that, I've seen a lot of Jackie's Warrior. Jackie's Warrior going a mile last year at the Pat Day Mile went 43-3 and held on and won. So
Yeah, that was
any
a
doubts
complete. I
about?
remember that. What a throwdown that was.
Oh my God, unbelievable! And as Justin just said, it didn't look like he could have been cranked up any more than 70% last time. That was a race he was going to win, and Asmussen knew it, and it was a perfect prep. Having said that, and Justin kind of stole my thunder. This is this horse is gone to Todd Pletcher. This is nothing against Tim Yakteen, but it's Pletcher, it's Pratt. I think he has a good spot, and again, obviously Jackie's Warrior is a straight A, but I think Cezanne has a decent chance to pull an upset. And in a sequence where you might have a lot of people singling Jackie's Warrior and Caveman tickets, I think maybe you might get a little separation if you can get Cezanne home. So I'm going to have Cezanne as another A in the race.
Yeah, for sure. Pete, I don't know if you want to, I don't mean to shortchange you. I'll
No,
have you go
not at all.
first in the next race, but I'm not sure if there's anything you'd like to add, but feel free. You've got 315, so you and I are thinking very similar in this race.
No, nothing really. I think the only thing, two quick ones, if you're trying to find a chink in Jackie's Warrior's armor, which there really isn't one against this field, most likely is anytime it's the only races he's had close last year were at 7, 7 and 1. So at the mile and the 2-7 furlong races were where, but they were, life is good and top notch horses. So I'm not saying that these horses are them, but just if you're trying to find some reason to beat them, the only other reason would be if somebody goes crazy and tries to run with them, which they generally can't do. But if it wears them out for some odd reason, and the only other one with the 5 is I think the last line could have even looked a little better. I was so confused watching the replay as to why Manny took that horse for no reason, rushed up to try and get the lead from Speaker's Corner and just sort of rushed up and used the horse really early, and it just didn't have enough left, and it sort of sat. So I was completely confused by that ride. I thought maybe, I don't know if it would have won the race because Speaker's Corner is so good, but I think it would have maybe been a better line and a better looking line if he would have just been patient with him.
I think, well, from what I understand, he did that because the pace was slow, and Speaker's Corner was on the outside, didn't really go. Pete, he just sort of sat in like the forepath, and the rail was open. I think I don't really mind aggressiveness. He took a shot. I mean, he still ran well. So, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
By the way, that was it. The 107 going 7 furlongs that bothered you. The 107 buyer.
Yeah, I know that's terrible.
Against
right?
Life
Yeah,
is
that's
good.
terrible. I've said if you're trying to find something,
I
just try to be contrarian a little bit.
No, I know. You know what's weird about this race, guys, is there's really no one to go with Jackie's Warrior, yet I still have a feeling that a lot of these guys are going to sort of sit and just hope something happens, because if they send, it's like a suicide mission, right? So, I mean, I don't know.
You're not going to, none of these horses can really outrun them. I mean, I definitely would single them just for, I know you want to, everybody else is going to have the free square and you hate to do that, but, I don't want to add horses or go with other horses just to be slick and wind up ripping the ticket up.
That's why you play ABCs, because I mean, I have Bs. I have 157 as Bs just in case. 158. 158 is Bs. We didn't talk about prevalence. We're going to move on. I really liked prevalence the last 2 races. This is just a completely different animal. Well, the pun intended and not pun intended. The race is totally different. But, prevalence is really good right now, too. Maybe this is the one, guys, that puts pressure on Jackie's Warrior. I don't see him beating Jackie's Warrior and holding off others, but maybe prevalence is the one, guys, with Tyler that may go. All right, let's get into the next race. We're doing great on time, guys. Again, thank you, everyone, for watching. We've got, over 200 people right now watching on YouTube. That doesn't include people watching on Twitter and a lot of other places. So thank you very much for watching as we're getting up to the main event here. Let's go to race 11, guys. And I believe it's Pete's turn, and if it's not, it is Pete's turn anyway. So we'll just say it's Pete's turn. Pete, race 11, as I go ahead and switch here and go full screen and do my 3 switches. Let's go to it. There are the picks on the screen, everyone. Race 11. This race has had like a zillion different sponsors, it feels like, over the years. This is the Old Forester Bourbon Turf Classic, Grade 1. It's the best turf race of the weekend in terms of purses, $1 million. They're going at mile and eighth. This is for older males. You see the field starting with Ivar, going down to number 10, Santine or Santin. The morning line favorite here, guys, is the number 6, Churchill Spite, coming off a nice win in the Makers Mile, I believe, at Keeneland for Atfield and Saez. But Pete, you're going with the number 8 for guess who? Chad Brown and Flavian Pratt. It's Adhamo.
Shocker. Yeah, I mean, not exactly a surprise when you have that connection. And I see 3 of us have them winning, and Justin has them in second. So I don't think we're too different here. But the one thing I liked, I mean, just watching again, aside from the connections, you just watch the replay, and it was just a monster closing trip. I mean, the pace was hot, so it's not like they were crawling up front and he still closed into it. But I just thought that closing kick was amazing. And then I thought, actually, watching the race, if he would have swung out on the turn, I think he wins, not comfortably, but a little. I think he easily goes by. He sort of waited and didn't swing out on the turn. And when they hit the stretch, then he kicked out, I think, a path next to the horse in front of them. So I think if he swings, he wins that race. And then he could probably be the favorite in this race. But so I just think the monster closer, you got Pratt now, so he'll be a little more tactical. Hopefully he'll get him in better position earlier. Plus, I think there's just potentially for a ton of speed with Tribuvan and who's the other? There's another one who I think between Tribuvan and some of the other speed in here, I think even if it doesn't heat up, it's going to be definitely an honest enough pace for this horse to come off and hopefully get a little closer trip so it doesn't have as much to do.
And you have the 6 in second there. You have Churchill Spite. Well, I don't want to steal your thunder. I don't know what to do with this horse in this race, Pete, to be honest.
The 6. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I mean, I didn't either, actually. I like the fact, I mean, I'm always a sucker for a horse when they come back from, whether it's, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, and they come back and their figures steadily improve. Now this horse is getting a new buyer top every single race and just running better and better. And it's not like it's running against, worse horses. It's going from an optional claimer, grade 3, grade 1, still winning races and doing them impressively off the pace. So again, it'll be reliant on some pace, and has never run the mile and an eighth. But I figure the late fractions look like they're good enough to where I think you can expect that this horse will be able to get the extra distance with no problem. And just based on the running style, you assume will. So I figure I got to put this one in just because it's in such good form that it's hard to leave off.
Let's go to Justin here, because Justin's got a very. I checked to make sure the numbers were right that you sent, Justin. They are. I don't mean it. No disrespect. It was so aberrational, different than the rest of us had. You are going with the 2. Now I think you got to explain your sweatshirt. At least you got to show it a little bit.
Yeah, this might be a little biased opinion.
Yeah, it's okay.
I got my Ravelli gear on.
There you
go. My dad owns some horses with Ravelli, and we're good friends with the owners of the Patricia's Hope LLC. So definitely cheering for them here. Here's
Can I before you talk about Busy Channel. I mean, I'm sure people believe me. I'm not going to bring up on my screen. I had Busy Channel last time because I like the price. I know that this Ravelli always runs this horse well off layoffs, and I think a lot of people were surprised that he won last time. I was not. I'm sure you didn't. Maybe you and your dad had a nice cash on that one, but this is a real honest horse. Go ahead.
Yeah, say his last race here, he just sat off the pace, didn't try to go to the lead, and he really proved himself last time out. So, I mean, I think if he can run back to this, and the real thing here is I'm assuming there's something going on with this 4 horse, same owner as the 8. They're putting Manny Franco on. They're sending this horse blitzing like a madman, and it's just going to set up for Pratt. So I'm hoping that the 4 doesn't send like a madman and Busy Channel just sits right behind them. Other than those 2, there's not a ton of speed. So if Manny Franco wants to get a little bold and not send like a madman, maybe Busy Channel has a chance sitting second, and there's not enough pace for them to close into. But there's no chance we're getting 30 to 1 on Busy Channel.
What do you think he'll go off at?
I would think probably 15, 18 to 1.
Okay. Val Place. I had to also double check to make sure that was the right horse. Val Place is a good guy. Justin, I love the creativity. I don't think this horse has a chance in hell, no disrespect whatsoever, because I love the horse. And you and I have seen this horse run in person probably several times at Arlington, right? And this horse always runs. It's not like he doesn't have figs in the past that aren't competitive. I mean, he's run some high 90s buyers. So many things have to go right for this horse to win. But if he hangs on for third or something, that wouldn't shock me.
Exactas and tries, it's gonna pay for sure.
Absolutely, wouldn't shock me at all, and he's in good form. So I love your creativity.
Yeah, I don't think this race is as monstrous as we normally get for these Grade 1 turf races. I mean, you normally get, for the Ragusan people out there, you get some horses running 6s and 7s, and you're not really going to get that here. So you never know. Getting a horse, obviously, came from an allowance race at Keeneland, but the rest of the horses don't perform like serious Grade 1 winners.
I don't want to spoil numbers because I know some people are sensitive about giving out numbers with other speed figs, but does Busy Channel fit by the Rags? His
last race does, yeah.
Okay, there you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, take it for what it's worth. Justin wants to throw Busy Channel in there. You could have worse, 25 to 1 shots in my opinion. And you're right. I mentioned this. You guys are so smart and so fantastic because you're stealing some words out of my mouth in the race day blog that I'm about to send out tomorrow morning for Friday, and then Saturday I'll be sending out Saturday morning. I'm going to send out Saturdays. And what I said a lot of similar things that you guys have been saying in this race and in other races too. So that's great. And some other what I hope to be is creative opinions. Paul, we haven't gotten to you yet.
I was going to say before we get to Paul, I had one creative stat for the listeners who I know they like the silly stats on Tribuvan. If you're thinking of putting him in to steal it up front, an odd one: Manny Franco and Chad Brown. The connection in graded stakes races, 0 for 28 in wins over the last 5 years, and 9 for 28 in the money. So I don't know what that means. I don't know. He generally doesn't have a ton of maybe front end speed horses, so he puts Manny on them to sort of set up like Justin said they'll do here. But I think Tribuvan normally is a horse who's run these kind of races where he's gotten loose on the lead and can win, but maybe not with Manny on him.
By the way, Justin, you got to come back on the show at some time because you're getting some love. Jared Bush likes Corrales, who I think is underrated. Wesley Preble. Sorry, Wesley Preble mentioned that English Channel is nice on soft turf. So listen, you're opening up some eyes. I think it's interesting. Paul, we all like Ed Hamo. I like Ed Hamo. Did you want to talk about the 10 or some other horses here?
I was just honored that I had the same 3 in order as you, Howard. You finally got a race right. That's terrific.
I've learned from the best. I learned from the best.
I do think Tribuvan, to Justin's point, is it may not look like it exactly because he doesn't go the lead every race, but yeah, I think he is a dead set. He cannot win the race without being on the lead. It's that simple. So I would say there is going to be plenty of pace to run at, and I'm looking at this Adhamo, and that was just a tough beat. That was one of those races where you say, "Geez, this is Dallas Stewart winning with a 35 to 1 shot in the stakes race again." I believe that Cavalry Charge was like 35 to 1 in that race, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
That's another result that pissed me off. But anyway, go ahead.
I was kind of rooting for this horse, not the 35 to 1 shot. I got 7 to 2 on this horse, Howard. We were getting a bargain, and he ran 4 lengths back. But you look at the PPs and see St. Mark's Basilica in the PPs just less than a year ago with this horse, and you got to think that horse would be like 1 to 30 in this race. So I think it's like the race this is the Chad Brown Invitational Part 2, although I like this one by far the best of the 3. I'm not really I don't really like Tribuvan. I think Public Sector is a solid B for me, but this is the guy I like the best, the 8.
Yeah, we haven't even. There's so many horses that we haven't talked about. I'm going to talk about a few when I end my comments on this race. What do you think Tyler Gaffleone's going to do, Paul, on the 10? Because we both have this horse in second. He's got blinkers on, so I guess that would automatically say maybe he's going to send. But I have a feeling this horse is better coming from off the pace. So I don't have any insight, but I'm just going to speculate then maybe this is more for focus purposes and not for early pace purposes. Any thought on that, Paul?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, Howard. I put him in there thinking and hoping he's going to run like you just said. I think if he sits second in this race, he's got a much worse shot than if he's trying to come from fourth or fifth. And the only other thing I would say about the race, and I don't know if he's going to get bet, but I really don't like Cheryl's Spite at low odds in this race. I think that was a very, not a very weak, but not a very strong running of the Maker's Mark for a grade one. Yes, the source came from the clouds. He was 9-1. I think it's a classic case of last time was the time on that horse. So I'm kind of hoping he gets bet, which might apportion a little bit of value elsewhere.
I just see a question by Steven. Steven, I mentioned this earlier. I like the 11 in race 14. People want to just skip the Derby and go right to the last two races of the card.
The degenerate special.
There you go. Steven, I like the first time star of the 11 in race 14. Anyway, real quick, guys, before we get to the Derby, what about the Ivar love? I mean, where's, here we go. Dean likes Ivar. People are asking what happened to Ivar. This layoff to me is a little concerning. I think he's better actually going shorter distance. At least that's my feeling, guys. I know how you feel about Ivar.
Yeah, I think he's better at a mile, and I had a stat that Lobo's 0 for 15 off this kind of lengthy layoff, 0 for 15 wins and 2 for 15 in the money off the long layoff. So it doesn't seem like maybe he's going to be sharp and he's not doing what I think he does best. So maybe you'll be able to, if he gets bet a little bit just from the back class, maybe he's someone you could beat.
Take that, Jim Pilares. There you go.
Jim's my guy, though. I can't go against Jim, though. Jim's my guy.
Just so people know that are new to the show, I like to show a lot of stats. We don't have the time for it because we have so many races to cover, but we like to go these blue links on DRF Formulator. You can see, for example, if I click on Chad Brown, for those of you who don't know the DRF Formulator, it doesn't usually take this long. I don't know why it's taking this long. But anyway, of course.
Hey, Howard, while you're waiting for the screen, since you like the 10, I wouldn't click on the I wouldn't, if you don't want to be disappointed, I wouldn't click on the Brendan Walsh in grade 1 turf races stat. You might want to.
Let me take a guess. It's bad.
It's a 0 for 29, but he hits the board though, 10 for 29 in the money. Okay. So I could see that 10 with the blinkers on, just cranking up for third or something.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to give out my entire ABC grid. I hope people spend a very small amount of money and look into purchasing my race day blog, which, by the way, if I can selfishly say this weekend, it's 3 pages long. It's got a ton of information with horizontal and vertical plays. I highly encourage people to look into the race day blog. Again, information below the video player. And Justin, I won't forget about what you want to promote as well. So remind me before the end of the night, Justin, to do that. Public Sector we haven't mentioned is a nice horse for Chad coming off a layoff. Mirror Mission was right there with Cheryl's Spite. Anyway, there's a lot of horses. Cavalry Charge. There's a lot of horses we didn't really dive deep in. It's a great race. I love Adhamo for all the reasons everyone is saying. Adhamo is my lone A. Otherwise, to me, guys, you got to go like 5 or 6 deep in your A line. So I'm taking a stand there with Adhamo and hope that he comes over the top. Ladies and gentlemen, it is about that time. The 148th Kentucky Derby is coming up right here on the HHH Racing Podcast, the handicapping for the Run for the Roses. You got 23-year-olds going at it. It's going to be a fantastic race. If you are new to the show or you haven't been watching us this week, we previewed all 20 horses in detail in the last few episodes, the bottom 10 and the top 10. So we are going to deep dive, but maybe not quite as much as we normally would because we've talked in detail about every single horse that is in the Derby. And let's go ahead and show, I said I'm not going to show the field, but I do have a graphic to show. So let me get this up if I can get it up real quick here. The field, here it is. And boom. There it is. The Kentucky Derby. Let's go right to our picks here. We all know, of course, it's for 3-year-olds. It's it's the classic. It's the American classic. You got 20 horses. The morning line favorite is the number 10, Zandon. I don't know if you guys got a peek at the bottom of the screen
Oh my
yet,
gosh, we might
but
have thrown
I
that one
think
out. Yeah,
I think
that's a
everyone can
toss.
just leave the podcast now because and those of you that are listening, you're wondering why I'm chuckling. On the bottom of the screen, we have a scroll with all of our picks. Every single one of us, all 4 of us, have the morning line favorite, Zandon. I'm almost embarrassed to say it. Have the morning line favorite, Zandon, on top at 3-1. But we got a lot to talk about in this race because obviously there's many things to do. And we're going to talk, guys. I'm going to put it at the 20-minute mark. We're going to go to about 9:50 Eastern Standard Time. We'll talk about this race for 20 minutes, including Pete. We're going to show the Pete Visco trifecta that's going to hit for $30,000. We'll show that too. We'll talk about my super and a lot of other things. Justin Mustari, as our wonderful guest here tonight, you have the honor of going first as I go ahead and bring up the PPs for the Kentucky Derby. Justin is going 10. We're also going to show our pick 5, so we got a lot to do, guys. Justin is going 10, 1, 5 in this race. Justin, what is it about Zandon that you fancy here in the 148th Kentucky Derby?
Yeah, I say it's everything about the horse looks great. The horse improved every single start. It looks like the distance. I mean, this horse can go 2 miles if she has to or he has to, but I know the odds aren't going to be there, but it's just a horse that you have to put into every type of exotics that you're playing. But these type of races, I haven't been a big bettor in Kentucky Derby. I haven't been a bettor for a lot of them. So I'm still trying to go through the process of how I want to eliminate horses, how I want to bet the race, all those kind of things. And I think you kind of have to hope for bad things for some horses for your plays to win. And I hate to say it, but I'm hoping that Epicenter does not break the way he normally does from that post I don't like. I'm kind of hoping him to be further back than he's ever been. I know last out he was sitting 3rd and ran very well and just looked like he rated perfectly fine. But I mean, what's going to happen if he's on the rail 8 back? I mean, that's kind of what I'm hoping for, and I hope they bet him. And he will not be on top and most likely not in second on any of my tickets. But hopefully look elsewhere for some prices. And I think if you do catch some prices in a race like this, I mean, you could have once in a lifetime scores.
No question about it. Justin and I are thinking very similarly in this race. You also have the 1 in second. I've gone back and forth on this horse a little bit, Justin, and let me just show this for everyone. I think this is a really cool picture. There's something also on Twitter today. This right here, Justin, if you're not, is the new starting gate as of a few years ago.
Yeah.
I know you fairly, to say you're new to the game is not really fair, but you admittedly said that you haven't, obviously, just based on your age, which is totally understandable. This is the new starting gate as of a few years ago, and I know Paul and I talked about this quite a bit in detail. For those of you who didn't see our show a few nights ago, if you see my cursor on the right side of the screen, second from the right, you see a gentleman there, and I believe it's a man, in tan. This right here, believe it or not, is where the 1 hole used to be all the time up till literally about 3 years ago. And now, Justin, you can see the one, I think this is last year's Derby. This is a good 10 feet, so the 1 hole is not nearly as bad, Justin, as it used to be.
I think it's like the 3 path they say now.
Yeah. What is it like about Mo Donegal, Justin?
Yes, if Mo Donegal drew anywhere else but the 1 post, I think he'd be my top pick. His last race in the Wood Memorial, I think was unbelievable for him to improve like that. And I think they were kind of setting him up to improve like that. And that's the race he did, and figures prove it. I just was really upset to see him draw the 1 post, but I'm going to get suckered into playing him in exactas and tries. I know it. But I mean, who else do you want but Pletcher and Irad to say, okay, please, Irad, don't break dead last, and which I don't think he will. I think he's faster than it looks, but I think if the horse can sit, let's say 12th on the rail, I'd be very happy turning at the first turn.
And let's go with Smile Happy for third. None of us have, want to double check again, none of us have Smile Happy in the top 3 except for you. This is, of course, the son of Run Happy, and I believe some guy from Houston who owns some mattresses or something might have a few dollars on this horse. Justin, what is it you like about Smile Happy, who I believe, who's 21 morning line? I've got to believe he's going to be bet down from that. I don't
Yeah.
know what to do with this horse. This horse, to me, I think a lot of people have very, very difference of opinions on Smile Happy.
Yeah, say I didn't love him after he ran second to Epicenter, and I think Zandon really didn't prove how good he was until the last time out, and he did run second to Zandon. So I don't know. I think the horse is still improving. I think there's potential there. I'm not a huge Flannery fan, um, but I mean, this horse is going to be closing. I think he's going to get a good trip. So I think in exotics, if you get 15-1 on him, and maybe he's even better odds than some exactas or tries, but I don't like a lot of things elsewhere. So I think he's going to be one of the ones on my tickets.
Justin, I assume you follow Gulfstream Park like your dad does as well?
A little bit, not to the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday stuff, but I
Well,
definitely.
I just want to bring it up because you're not going with any of the Florida horses, so you're against the horses coming from Florida, then obviously, or at least in the top three.
Yeah, I'm still a little. I'm not sure what to do with. I'm not a huge fan of White Abario. I'm a little worried with the distance with him, and Charge It, who ran second to him, went backwards a little bit in that race, but doesn't have a ton of experience. I don't know. That horse is going to get bet down too, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Charge It runs his best race here and is close to in the money. But I'm not a fan of White Abario.
Justin, last question for you is who would be your bomb in this race? Last year I liked Obesos. He ran very well. I think a close fifth, if I recall. Is there just a horse that you project to be 25-1 or more that you think is interesting to fill out maybe in fourth place in a super, let's say?
I think that horse is going to be Cyberknife. I'm not sure the odds I'm going to get on him.
Okay.
Me and my dad had this conversation. If you walk into Brad Cox's office as a jockey, I think they're going to just be in that office with Florent Giroux, and he gets to pick the horse he wants to ride. And I would assume that's the best one. So that's the horse I'm going with. He seems to be progressively improving. Brad Cox is good on big days, so he's going to be the one. Maybe I get 25-1 on him.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many horses. There's got to be prices for sure.
Yeah, it's hard to tell with the morning lines, obviously.
It's always the most difficult race to handicap of the year. Just a lot of shit happens, but it's really exciting. Pete and Paul, just so we can move things, we all love the 10. We don't need to keep talking about Zandon. We've talked about Zandon ad nauseum. Pete, can you talk about Teba? You've got this horse in second. Again, another horse that people have strong opinions one way or another. The fastest horse on paper, only 2 lifetime starts. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I guess for me, just to clarify for everyone, I don't really have a winner in this race. I don't really have a top choice. I think I like Zandon the best, but if there's not a horse that I don't completely love, I don't really go the win direction in the Derby generally. And this is one of those years where I just can't come up with a win horse. So one thing is, though, if I'm doing a pick 5, any sort of horizontals, any sort of verticals, I don't want to lose to what potentially could be by far the best horse in the race. So this is one that looks like a freak, runs like a freak. What he did in the Santa Anita Derby, some people love, some people don't. But I mean, he was super impressive. The double 100 buyer figures, you can't really say much against them aside from the experience. And if you don't like his workouts, which, that's a give or take kind of thing. But I don't want to lose any of my bets because potentially the best horse in the race wins. And you might get him. You're definitely not getting him at 12, but he's not going to be anywhere near, I assume, the top 3 choices. So I assume you're getting him maybe 8, 7. So if he wins the race, I don't want to be pissed that he won and I didn't have him.
He's just super talented, and I at first I was going to have him higher. I'm starting to get a little cold to him, not for any other particular reason other than he's just had 2 great trips, and it's so hard to get a perfect trip in this Derby, no matter how good a horse you are. So I don't know. I'm using him. He's in the mix for sure for me. Pete, anyone else you want to mention? You've got the 6. That's Messier, correct, in third.
Yeah, I have Messier as well. I think potentially just the the Baffert Yaktine, the Santa Anita Derby form just could be really good. I mean, again, there's only 3 horses in this race who have popped. I think who have popped 100 buyers, and it's Messier, Taba, and Epicenter. So Messier maybe. I mean, again, it's all conspiracy theory. It looked like Messier maybe wasn't cranked up in the last one. Didn't really need to win that race. Just needed to really finish second to make the field. Taba needed to win more to obviously make the race with his only points race. So I feel like this horse might be sitting on a big one if they crank him up. Obviously, Velasquez knows what he's doing when he gets to the Derby. And in normal years, I think this horse would maybe go to the top and try and steal it. But with the cheap speed that's in this race in Classic Causeway and Summer is Tomorrow, this horse could potentially break, sit right behind those two, get first run because it's not going to have to do that much work to get behind them, hopefully, and then just have the lead in the lane, and then you see what happens from there. But if you get the lead in the lane in the Derby, a lot of times that's the spot that wins the race. So I think this horse can do that. Only funny thing is, and again, the 6 hole is terrible, and I don't know if it means anything. It's probably a throwaway thing, but the 6 horse has been by far the worst, or in the last, aside from I think I forget what the one. There's one race that's one field that's the 17 obviously has no wins, but the 6 is just 2 wins in 92 and also has like a terrible since 2013 2014 has barely hit the board or hit even the super, and I have no idea why. But aside from that, I just think this horse is talented, and if he would have won the Santa Anita Derby, he potentially could have been the favorite in this race because he was getting so much buzz back then. So if you're getting a horse like that again, if he floats to 8-1, I'll take it.
Guys, if you can spare till, I promise we're going to end at 10 o'clock Eastern. If you can spare another 10, great. If you can't, that's fine, because there's a few other things that we wanted to show, Pete, including some that you sent to me that I want to show very quickly. Paul, I apologize to you because I should have had you talk about Messier because you have Messier in second. Paul's going 10-6-1. Paul, the floor is yours. Anything you'd like to talk about here for the Derby?
Yeah, I think Messier. I like Messier better than Taba of those two, and I think this is the race that proves you really have to play A, B, and C. I don't have Epicenter in the top 3 that I gave you, Howard. I think I'm going to have him as an A, if not an A, definitely a B on my ticket. I think he could definitely win the race, but I think Messier has got a very good chance to be on the lead at some point coming home. We talked about Zandon. I got him in a future bet. It's not why I like him. I just think he's the best horse. I think he got a great post position. And, Justin, we talked a lot earlier this week about Mo Donegal. And while the 1 is no bargain, my point was of any horse who's a contender, he's has the potential to be the one that gets bothered the least by it because of his running style. Mm-hmm. I do think he's going to be coming from far back, but I think we talked about this the other night. If you're IRAD, you almost have to kind of be patient and just kind of hope that something opens, not necessarily on the turn, but, late down the backstretch going into the turn, because I don't think you can come from that far back and lose a ton of ground. I think you got to have one or the other. So but I think, I don't think you could play an exotic without having him in it underneath.
Yeah, I agree.
And if he wins, I wouldn't be, I got him as a B. If he gets there all the way, I will not be shocked.
Yep, I don't really have for on the rail the entire way. I think about 6 or 7 of these horses turning for home will be behind him already that aren't even in the ballpark at that distance. So I don't think he's going to have as much trouble as people think, like you said, but just hope he stays on the rail, and I think IRAD is smart enough to do that.
Yeah, if it doesn't work out, if he does get bottled up, that can happen in a 20-horse field. Yeah. But I don't think he can come from 14th, 15th, 16th and make a big wide move on the far turn.
I've got Epicenter. I'm sorry, Paul.
No, I'm good.
I've got Epicenter in third. I selfishly, if this horse wins, I'm in line for a nice 4-digit score in a future bet. But I hear what you're saying, Justin. I mean, it's a tricky spot because Rosario has to go. I think he's just going to break and then look to his right and see what happens. But I personally don't want Epicenter on the lead. I'm playing for a pace meltdown in this race. I really, really believe. I've said this time and time again this week. And everyone out there, I could be completely wrong. Completely wrong. I'll just go full screen here for a second. I could be, hold on a second. I could be completely wrong, ladies and gentlemen. I know it goes against what's been happening in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years since they switched to the Derby points. There's just too much speed in this race, and there's cheap speed, which there has not been a lot of these derbies. You got Summers tomorrow is cheap speed. What does Classic Causeway can do? Not go? I mean, the owner just wants to hear their name called. I see a very fast pace, and I see craziness on the turn, and I'm favoring closers in this race, and if I'm wrong, that's fine. Obviously, I like Epicenter, but I like Zandon and Modonigal. I think they are by far the two best closers in this race, and that's who I'm using the most. I even would throw in a complete bomb in the Super, like Barber Road, to come from way back and clunk up for third and fourth. I do not think is impossible at all. I also like Simplification a little bit as a price for that reason. I think Simplification will be further back than he has been. I'm looking for bombers in this race as closers, not as horses that could be up front. That's my general opinion about the Derby. I give a lot more information about the Derby in my Race Day blog. We've talked a lot about the Derby. It's going to be a great race. Zandon is fantastic. He's my top choice, but he's got to break, number one. Number two, he's going to have to weave through 10, 11 horses because he's not going to be real close to the lead. He's going to be mid-pack. That's my general feeling.
I know you want to move on, Hal, but we should at least. One of the commenters asked about the Japanese horse, Crown Pride.
Yeah, let's Crown Pride. Go ahead.
I think he's going to be a real underlay on the win odds. He's training lights out. He blew out 46 seconds for 4 furlongs the other day. I don't like him myself, but I think between what the Japanese horses have done around the world in the last 6 months to a year, and the way he's training, he's been at Churchill Downs for over a month. I think it's one of those things you have a strong feeling for or against him. I don't like him. I'll probably throw him in third or fourth just in case, but I don't think he's going to be very good value. But I think he's worthy of mention because he's gotten more airtime than any. I've watched the 1 hour Derby show every day for the last 11 days. And if I see any more video of him doing figure eights in the chute, I'm going to throw up all over my shoes. The first 6 times I saw it, I get the point.
Your figure eights is like my morning line this week. We just keep mentioning it over and over again.
You got it. Correct.
You know what, guys?
I was just saying, I have him on the A line just for the. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. You know what, guys? Screw the time. If any of you 4 need to leave at any time, this is the frickin' Derby. We got a ton of people watching. There are things I still want to show, like this screen, and talk about. Gentlemen, I honest to God mean this. If you have to leave at any time, just say you gotta go and feel free to go because we got a lot of people watching and there's a lot of cool things that we still want to talk about. So I don't usually do that, guys, and I apologize, but it is the frickin' Derby and we have a lot of people commenting, and why not, right? Let's just keep talking. And again, if you need to leave, just let me know, guys, and feel free to go. I feel like a teacher. Go ahead, students, if you got to go. Pete, you send this to me. I think this is great info. I'm going to go full screen. Pete, I'll let you talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, this was just something this was something in an article I read, but I thought it was interesting. If you look at the top, the buyer figure 95 plus in the last race, 28 of the last Derby, 30 Derby winners entered off a 95 or higher buyer figure. And you see, and this includes that one of those 28 winners is Maximum Security. I mean, he crossed the line first, so we'll give that to him. And 8 meet that. So if you're looking at it, you see Messier Taiba, Epicenter, Zandon, Zozos, White Barrio, Modonigal, and Pioneer of Medina. And then the second stat for Justin and the Brisnet players, I like Brisnet myself. If you have 100 plus last race, 19 of the last 22 Derby winners came in off of 100. 7 meet this for the audio listeners: Messier, Taiba, Epicenter, Zandon, Modonigal, Smile Happy, and Tis the Bomb. And then if you see there's 5 horses that sort of cross both lists. It's Messier, Taba, Epicenter, Zandon, and Modonical, who will most likely be the top 5 choices, which isn't surprising, but just an interesting stat if you're looking for, hey, this is going to be my top line. Because I think sometimes we get bogged down and we like a lot of horses. I know this happens to me in the Derby. You like a lot of horses, and it's just hard to zero in on one because there's so many things that can happen in the Derby. It's hard to zero in on one horse unless it's just a monster. And it doesn't seem like there's any monsters in this race who don't have something that could cause them trouble. Even Zandon, we all like Zandon, but if Zandon breaks bad and is too far back, it's going to be tough to win the race, even if he runs great, which has happened to so many closers in the Derby along the way.
Absolutely. All right, guys, let's go into our picks. Pete, you sent this to me, and I want to show it. Pete's got a trifecta he just wants to throw out to everyone here, and then we're going to show the pick 5s, and then we'll end the show, guys. Here's Pete Visco's.
Go ahead.
This is Pete
No.
Visco's.
Go ahead.
This is your 50-cent try for 180. You got 5 horses on top. You have a lot of horses underneath. Just anything quick you want to just
this
say
is just
about
one of those
try.
funkies of like, if you feel like getting stupid because it's the Derby and you have money to blow, you do something funky like this. Actually, after I sent it to you, I like
Justin's got some money to blow.
I mean, yeah, but Justin's not an idiot like I am, so he wouldn't do something stupid like this, I assume. So I would the one thing I would do is I was going to drop. I didn't send this to you, but I would drop, I think, Epicenter now. The longer the day went, the more I'm sort of against him on the top line. And there was some Twitter buzz about the Asmussen Ofer in the Derby, which nobody cares about, but
oh my goodness.
The one stat that I saw, and I actually posted this earlier, was he's 0-for-21 wins with 3-year-olds in graded stakes races going 1.25 miles up, and that's on dirt and turf. So I wonder if there's just something about the way he trains his horses that it doesn't help him when you go to these extra long distances. And you're talking about horses like Clariere, Midnight Bisou, She's a Julie. There was one other one who was really good. And I'm like, it was just odd to me. And I don't know crap about training, so I don't know if there's any reason behind that. But maybe for some reason, he can't get his horses at 3 to get that distance because he has no trouble when he gets to 4-year-olds and up. So I'm like, if you're trying to look for a knock on one of the 2 favorites, you have to look for every little piece of data that you can find.
He's finished 2nd and 3rd though, right? So anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, but it's there's a lot of 2nd and 3rds that doesn't get you the win if you're trying to beat the favorite. Plus, he's what 0 for his last 78 on the Kentucky circuit, so maybe he just doesn't like going to Kentucky.
I guess my point is if he can train a horse to finish 2nd or 3rd in the Derby, certainly he can finish a horse to finish 1st in the Derby. It's just is my point. Real quick, because I know we have people listening. Pete's, because obviously there's people listening audio don't know what we're seeing on the screen here. Pete's trifecta play is 3, 6, 7, 10, 12 with 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 15, 16 with the same horses. 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. 10, 12, 15, 16. Because when this hits, Pete, people want to come back in the show and say thank you for it. Again, he's got 3, 6, 7, 10, 12 on top. I'll just say one more thing, and then we'll get to the pick 5s. I know not everyone, of course, that's listening is going to be buying into the podcast pool and the Superfecta play that I'm playing. I'm playing a large $5,000 plus Superfecta on behalf of everyone that has decided to be a part of our Superfecta pool, and thank you. Those people that are playing in the Superfecta pool already probably know this, or because I sent them information. My main philosophy in the Superfecta on Saturday is to key Zandon in all 4 spots. Basically, Zandon has to finish in the top 4. I think it's very likely he finishes in the top 4. He doesn't have to win, but we need Zandon to finish in the top 4. I have 3 or 4 horses I'm putting in first place, and I'm also playing a backup Superfecta ticket with Zandon completely out of the money. So I'm playing 5 $1 Superfecta tickets for the podcast pool, Zandon in each spot, and then 1 without Zandon. So that's my general play. Let's go to the pick 5, guys, and then Justin will show you your promo, and then we'll wrap up the show. Here's my pick 5, and I just say it out loud for everyone because, again, people at home, sorry about that. People at home who are listening to this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Anchor cannot see the bottom of the screen. My pick 5 play, Caveman, 5-7, with 5, 6, 7, with 3, with 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, with 1, 3, 6, 10. Again, 5, 7, 5, 6, 7, with 3, with 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, with 1, 3, 6, 10. I'm spreading deep in the last two legs, and I'm singling Jack Christopher. Justin, very quickly, I'll just read it off, and then you can comment. Justin's pick 5, 6, which actually that's going to change. Is that going to change to the 7 now, Justin?
Yep, correct.
Justin's going 7 with 4, 5, 7, 9, with 3, 7, 8, with 2, 6, 8, 9, with 1, 5, 8, 10. Again, 7 with 4, 5, 7, 9, with 3, 7, 8, with 2, 6, 8, 9, with 1, 5, 8, 10. Justin, that's a $96 play. Feel free to talk about a minute about this pick 5.
Yeah, I think that first race was a single for me. The next race was the Psy Dog and that Santa Anita horse, Balnikoff. And then I put the other two prices in there, Stolen Base and Red Danger, who are going to be 10 plus to 1. So hopefully get one of those in there. And then I was hoping I have Jackie's Warrior, but hoping to get a 4 or 5 to 1 shot in there that could really change the outcome there. And then in the 11th, the turf race, I did put another huge bomb in there. I believe the 9, who's off of a long layoff, but just keeps running second in those big time allowance races and hasn't gotten that graded stakes, I guess, placing him into there or getting him the win, but has lost by a nose, by a neck so many times that if it's heavy up front and pace falls over, he's going to be 25, 30 to 1.
And Justin is saying, sorry, Steve Asterson, I'm not using Epicenter in my pick 5. I love the balls there. I mean, he doesn't have to win. It's a 20-horse field. Who the hell knows? Justin, good luck with that $96 pick 5 or anyone who's playing it on due to Justin's wonderful handicapping skills. Paul, you're next. Paul's pick 5, which is under $100. It's $81, is 247 with 6-7, with 3-5-8, with 3-4-8, with 3-6-10. Again, 247 with 6-7, with 3-5-8, with 3-4-8, with 3-6-10. Paul, any quick comments about your pick 5?
Yeah, there's no possible way I would play a caveman ticket on Saturday. That's my comment.
Yeah.
I went with I do like Edgeway a lot more. The more we talked about it, I did have him in there. Had the lodge, nothing all that creative, to be honest with you. But I would never give, Messier the same weight. That's not a good example. There are other legs where I wouldn't give horses the same weight, but I was pressured to keep it under $100 after being ridiculed for going to 108 last night. So I made sure it was at 81. So let's see, I went 8 over. Now you owe me $11, Howard. Thank you.
No problem. The check's in the mail. Pete, you're the last one to talk about the pick 5, and then we'll do a few quick promos and wrap up the show. I'm honestly honored and touched, humbled by the amount of people that have been watching this week. Thanks again. Pete, 2-5, 6-7-8, 10-11, with 3, with 3-6-8, with 1-3-6, 7-10-12. It's a $90 play. Again, 2-5, with 6-7-8, 10-11, with 3, with 3-6-8, with 1-3-6, 7-10-12. You're also singling Jackie's Warrior. Any thoughts, Pete, on your ticket here?
No, I just wanted to go skinny with Jackie's Warrior and then in the first leg, so I could go a little deeper in the Derby, get the 7 in there for the Crown Pride. I'm a Crown Pride guy, so if you get him in there and then go a little deeper in the second leg, I just thought that one could potentially be wide open, so I wanted to make sure I went skinny. Probably would do a backup and shorten some of the other legs, and then maybe try and put a little something to beat Jackie's Warrior to really get the ticket blown up. But I'd want to play something on a big race. We've seen on these big days sometimes that the races can get a little chalky. So if you can, just up the denomination, obviously, and maybe try and go a little skinnier where you can and really bang your opinions elsewhere. So, and then if you want to do some backups for shorter amounts, then do that. But I also would potentially drop Epicenter again if I wanted to cheapen up that A line, potentially drop Epicenter and then see what we can do from there. And by the way, for all the commenters, you got to throw darts every once in a while. There's only one 20 race a year, 20 horse race a year in the U.S. So I'm going to get crazy on it.
Are you getting some shade? Are you getting some shade, Pete, in the comments?
Oh yeah. There was some dart jokes in the comments, so that's all well and good. I could take it.
Hey,
when
Pete,
when it comes Crown Pride, Cyberknife, White Abario, I want all you people in the comments to bow down and apologize. So.
Wow,
Pete throwing some shade. I love it.
Because I know there's no chance that's happening. So go ahead, Paul.
Pete. I am gonna Venmo you $90 after the show. So I want my half of that.
You want your half of that one? Okay. I'll put that in my pocket for some beers and go away.
Justin, this is going to look really weird for people who are watching right now. Justin, I know you have something you want to promote. I'm going to show something on the screen that's actually us live. You're like, what's going on? Okay, so this is not here. Let me do picture in picture. So what you're seeing on the main screen here is actually live my YouTube channel right now. If you go below the video player, I've got a whole bunch of things down here, and I'm going to go full screen now. So go below the video player, click Show More in the video player, and Justin, you have something right now through Brisnet. I don't know if you can see that at the bottom of the screen there. Justin, talk about what you got going with Brisnet for this weekend.
Yeah, I did some spotlight selections on the entire Oaks Day card and Derby Day card, kind of give a little analysis on what I think is going to happen in the race and give out some suggested plays in just about every race that I think had some type of value in. But yeah, say both days are on there. I think it's $20 for each day. So if you want to get some analysis on that, you can find that on Brisnet.
And also, Pete, I put that spreadsheet that we were just showing. There is the Google Doc spreadsheet that Pete was mentioning. Also, just wanted to throw that up there as well for people. Last question, Justin. I'm gonna let you answer this question since you're a guest tonight. You have such wonderful feelings about Bob Baffert. Someone asked a really good question. I think it was Tom, so I apologize. Tom Espinoza. Do you have any feeling at all on how the ex-Baffert horses are going to be bet this weekend? Because his name is not in the program, but I have a strong opinion. But I'll just let you can comment on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think for the person who just bets the Kentucky Derby every year, when they go to that screen and see Tim Yachtine, they're not going to see Baffert. They're not going to see a program, none of that stuff. I don't think they're going to get bet that hard. The one thing I'd like to say about Taba is I think if this was for sure trained by Baffert, I do think that he is running all the stuff that's going on with these two horses, but a little surprised to me that the horse hasn't been working fast like a normal Baffert horse that would be preparing for the Derby. And that's my only concern with Taba.
Paul and Pete, we're going to have you just make one last comment, and then I'll wrap up the show. Paul, anything you want to mention to the viewers about this weekend, maybe a best play of the weekend you have, or just any thoughts at all about Derby 148 weekend?
Well, we talked about it earlier this week, Howard. It's been a long week and a great week that, you spend a lot of time on these two races, more so the Derby than the Oaks. And, it's over in 2 minutes. But there is the undercard. There's value all over the place. The favorite's not going to win every race. I really, I don't want to be a chalk-eating weasel, but if I had to pick one horse in the 2 days, it would be Zandon. I really like Zandon in the Derby. Sorry he's going to be the favorite, but, so we'll see. We'll see if I can stagger my way into that leg and have some other horses alive. But it's a great time. Tomorrow's a great day, and we're only 12 and a half hours to post time for tomorrow. So get studying, people.
Pete, you get the last final word of our co-host and guest tonight before I close it out.
Excellent. Hey, Vale Place. I did have White Abario in my triple. There's so many numbers there that you probably just missed it. So the 15 was in there. It's just it's an array of numbers, so it might have been hard to find. Just talking to the commenters again. I agree with Paul. It's a great 2 days. There's generally value. The pools get so big. bet some of those funky, if you want to bet some of those funky 2-day bets like the Oaks Derby double or any of those cross the pick six, the 2-day pick six, any of those are just for fun. And again, if you want to just, I mean, obviously you should think value and you should put smart bets in, not like the triple I put in. But if you want to just have some fun, it's a big day. And if you catch something in the Derby, just because there's 20 horses, it's the day you can catch exactas, tries, supers that could pay balloons and actually be life-changing money, which I know Howard in the Superfecta pool, that's what you and the listeners are hoping for.
That's our plan. To all the podcast pool and Superfecta players out there, I want to let everyone know who's in the podcast pool. We're definitely playing Saturday's Pick 5 that ends in the Derby. I have to be honest, everyone. I do not know what I'm doing tomorrow. We might spend our money in the $2 2-day Pick 6. We might spend our money a little bit tomorrow on Oaks Day in the Pick 5. There's two things I have to look into. Number one is I want to see what the track condition is. And the other thing is I'm going to be at school working. Obviously, I can make a bet, during my lunchtime or free time, whatever. But I just have to look at some scratches and some things. So it's a little bit up in the air about what is happening tomorrow with the podcast pool. But, of course, Saturday, we're definitely playing the Superfecta and the Pick 5 that ends in the Derby, and I'll be sending out everything as usual, full disclosure, on this Friday and Saturday, including the podcast pool, and the race day blogs will be showing up early tomorrow morning and early Saturday morning. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap up an unbelievable Derby week here on the HHH Racing podcast. I really hope you've enjoyed these shows. I've done the very best I can. We've done the best we can to bring you high quality information and entertain you as well. Don't let this week be the only week you're watching us. Please continue to watch, because all these following weeks and years hopefully to come, we'll continue to give you some great information and have fun and make sure it's fun while we do it. For my co-hosts, Paul Halloran and Pete Visco, and for my guest, Justin Mustari, this has been Howard Kravitz. Good luck to everyone, whether you're playing the Oaks, the Derby, both days, or every single horizontal bet that you can make, like Paul Halloran. Have a great weekend, everyone. Good luck in the Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks. Take care. Have a great night.
See you.